Wake up! Wake up! It's July the 11th, 9/11 on the West Coast, 11 minutes afternoon back east. He's Damon Bruce. I'm Larry Krueger. This is Wake Up. We're going to talk Niners, and you're going to join us, hopefully.
Yeah, we're not going to boss you around, but we are going to ask you to hit that thumbs up right now. Please help this channel, this show spread throughout the interwebs, if you would, please. Like and subscribe to both Damon Bruce Plus and The Krug Show. We're going to have you all season long, and boy, that season is getting closer and closer when it comes to the best 49ers content. And we got a little something for you today, and it's hope. Larry, are you ready to sell some hope after we tell everyone where they should be grabbing their lunch and thinking about eating and drinking and playing over the weekend? As always, Damon Bruce Plus is brought to you by Aiyuk's Sandwiches, one of the best places to go out and get a sandwich. Think about ordering Aiyuk's to cater your office next week when you're at work. Think about Aiyuk's not only for lunch, pick up 2 sandwiches and have one for dinner. Substantial. You like meat sandwiches? We got them for you at Aiyuk's, and our good friends at the Dubliner West Portal are always ready to serve you the best Guinness in all of San Francisco. Now, Larry, would you please tell me about the best barbecue in Northern California?
We should tell people we're live. Welcome to the Pig in a Pickle side of the show, the Pig in a Pickle Krug Show. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go say hi to Damon. Go say hi to Mary. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corners, Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. Thanks to Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264, and they're a great follow on the gram at Sharp Corners 831 on the IG. And also thanks, last but certainly not least, a great company is Claw Daddy Arcades, and they're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. They've got a brand new location opening later this year in Capitola Mall, and another one opening in Visalia Mall. And he's a great follow on the gram. So thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades.
Larry lives in the back of a Pig in a Pickle. Well, look at it this way. Larry would be 350 pounds if that were true.
Wow. It's rich. It's rich. But yeah, thanks to all of our sponsors. Hit like and subscribe on both sides if you would. It just helps us, if you hit like, that just helps more people find our live stream this morning. And if you hit subscribe and click on that notification bell anytime Damon or I go live, you don't have to miss a minute of it. And we also should tell you that if you are, if you're watching us live on YouTube, do us a favor, smash the like button, hit subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell. But remember, once this live stream wraps up, you can also catch the full replay anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform is by searching The Krug Show, and you'll find me. We've got a lot to get to today, so let's jump right into it, Damon.
Yeah, someone's asking. Sean says, an angry Damon Friday? No, Sean. No. But it's good to be back on Friday. Larry and I are definitely going to try to hit that Monday, Friday schedule. The schedule that I think means the most right now, Larry, is a training camp schedule, which opens in earnest. Rookies report on July 15th. We got veterans reporting on July 22nd. Open practices to the public start on July 23rd, and obviously you're going to have to sign up to do that and contact the 49ers. You just can't stroll in there. There is a process. But look, if you have a chance to get around a football team as it's preparing for a season, I suggest you do it. It's pretty impressive to watch it all sort of happen and come together, and how, tight these practices are. I don't mean tight in a bad way. I mean well run and well organized. It's pretty impressive to see. I know that we're both going to be out there next week, Larry, and our thumbnail made by your son producer, the executive producer of Wake Up, Kevin Krueger, is about hope that Brandon Aiyuk will be joining this team early in the year, possibly even in week 1. It was the Cobra, Matt Mayoko on KNBR, who said, and I quote, "Not out of the question. He could be ready for week 1. Now, Larry, I did a little, I'm going to say research. Research is just another word for Googling and math. Aiyuk's knee was blown apart in the Kansas City Chiefs game on October 20th, 2024. Week 1 in Seattle is September 7th. That would be 323 days between injury and week 1 for Brandon Aiyuk to put his knee back together. And I'll tell you, it's about a year to recover. That's about a year. So I guess it's not out of the question, but I do think it's detached from the right way to do this. And, he's healing very well. Like all sports injuries, Larry, I got good news. He's ahead of schedule. Yay! I've never heard anybody or a team come out and say, this rehab's going terribly. He's behind schedule. Every rehab in the history of sports is ahead of schedule. But he's healing very well. Can't we just leave it at that? I'd be surprised if we see him before Halloween. I really would be. And I think it might even be a little negligent to roll him out there as fast as possible. But I am happy to hear good news. I just think week 1 is probably pushing it, don't you?
He's not going to be there week 1. I don't want to go against Mayoko, but if I have to, I will. He's not going to be there week 1. It's not realistic. And Matt went on to say they want to be extra cautious with him. Well, extra cautious means he's not going to be there week 1.
He's not going to be there week 1, yeah.
The guy got hurt in week 7. Usually if you blow out an ACL, that's used to be a full year injury rehab. He blew out the ACL, the MCL, and the meniscus. Right. Now he's going to get back in less than a year. Shebang. Come on. That's not happening. Now, it's good. They're putting that out there that he's going to be back sooner rather than later. But you know what? There was this guy last year named Christian McCaffrey who was just going to miss a little bit of the start of camp. And then he was just going to miss a little here, just miss a little there. And he never got right.
A game-time decision turned into a flight to Germany.
Right. For platelet-rich injections. So, yeah, who knows? No, he's not going to be there week 1. I would say, if you want to wager, let's wager. Is he closer to returning week 1, which whatever date that is, or what I said, Thanksgiving, which would be, late November? I'll take that wager. My wager is that it will be closer to Thanksgiving than it will be to week 1.
How about this? I'm going to beat you to my deadline by about a month. With everything we're hearing from Mayoko, and look, Matt Mayoko is not a clickbait, selling nothing but hope and blowing smoke up your ass kind of a journalist. He must have some real credible feeling from either Aiyuk's team, or the 49ers that things are going smashingly to come out on KNBR and saying, yeah, he could be there for week 1. Matt doesn't want to look stupid. I would have originally agreed with you. Thanksgiving sounds about right. But with this optimistic report, I'll bump it up to Halloween. I'll bump that up to Halloween. End of October, you might be able to see him. Early November, you might be able to see him. But, week 1, week 2, week 3, I just think it's totally out of the question. And again, it'd be a little negligent to run him out there, because you want to go ahead and get him not just ready to take on NFL contact. He needs to get back into game shape. Unless you're telling me he is out in training camp playing with everybody, which I don't think he's going to be, there's no way he can get ready for any preseason, regular season start. So calm down. Somebody said, where's my grumpy guys? There they are. There they. We're not being grumpy. We're being realistic. That's, where are all my Debbie Downers at? Here they are, Papa J. We're not being Debbie Downers. We're not doctors, but we will play one on this YouTube live.
This ain't, hey, Papa J, this ain't Santa's workshop. All right. And this ain't, sorry, Papa J. Everything's not going to be, give me a 4, give me a 9, give me an E, give me an R, give me an S. What does that spell? 49ers. Hey, we all come together, hands in the middle. The bottom line is not every story, be happy. When we tell you positive stories, they're positive stories. When we tell you negative stories, they're negative stories. I'll just say this, though, it's nice to be close to the story. Okay. It's good to have sources. Okay. But you don't want to be used by the team that you're covering to carry their water, to carry their mail. And I'm not saying that Mayoko is being used, but they haven't had any press gatherings at all. None. Shanahan has not spoken. Lynch has not spoken. Nobody has formally spoken. So if he's got information that things are going swimmingly well, he didn't get it from any of the standard methods, and he's not putting anybody's name on it. So what is it? You know what I mean? What is it? What is a report when you don't say where you got it and there has been no media reports? You're just saying, like, people that I've talked to. So why are you getting this information? You just got to ask the questions. You got to ask the questions. You got to ask the questions. Why is Matt willing to put his name to that? Would he be willing to stake his name to he'll be there week one? No, he's not going to stake his name to he'll be there week one. He's just floating out the Niners message, which is that the Niners think that things are going well, and that the Niners want people to know that he's ahead of schedule, and the Niners don't want the notion out there that he could be gone for the whole year or good chunks of the year. But that's what they want the message to be. It doesn't mean that's what it's going to be.
Again, can't we just leave it as he's healing very well? Everyone's optimistic about him having an impactful season. When it begins, we still don't have that start date, but things are going really well. Like, I would have been fine with that. You didn't have to attach week one to it. But again,
what's next? A story comes out that the 49ers, you know what? The 49ers actually think they're better off for having the Brandon Aiyuk injury than they would have been if they didn't have it at all. I mean, what how positive do you want to get? How ridiculous, over the top, sucking up do you want to get before you just sit there and go, wait a second, nothing that I'm saying has any credibility. All I would say to everybody is just ask yourself this: why is this being reported? And then draw your own conclusions. Because there's been no, it's not like Brandon Aiyuk worked out in front of us. He did not. It's not like Brandon Aiyuk has been put through a battery of tests with us watching. That didn't ever happen. It's not like they came out with any official statement. They have not. So the one guy who is very, very close to the organization and oftentimes gets information that other people don't get is somehow incredibly positive that their very damaged wide receiver is going to be back in record-setting time.
I mean, is the man a mutant?
Call me skeptical. Call me a skeptic.
Well, here's the thing. There's no skepticism involved with the way we're looking at it.
I'm skeptical on the timeline, Damon, just because of the injury.
Yeah, all we have on our side is the entire history of football recovery from an injury like this, and all medical evidence that it would be way too fast for Brandon Aiyuk to be back in week one. So let's slow our roll on the return, but it is good to hear that Brandon Aiyuk is ahead of schedule, just like every other athletic rehab that has ever been reported upon from every city throughout all time. And that's good news. It's good news. I'm happy. I think the team will be better with Brandon Aiyuk. I think that will be something that Brock Purdy is looking forward to. The team doesn't get worse when Brandon Aiyuk shows back up. That's for sure. But the truth is, there are a lot of reasons to be very, very optimistic about the 49ers and their chances this year, that we don't need to be making up like hopeful thought bubbles. We don't need to be like hoping, because there are a lot of things to be very excited about this team. And Larry, I had a great conversation with Warren Sharp, who I know you admire greatly. I think he does fantastic work. His His 2025 football preview tome is like 600 pages. I got the PDF, and it is just comprehensive, and it is so well researched. And he is very optimistic on the 49ers. If they remain healthy, sky's the absolute limit. He really believes that. And you could, tack on that if they remain healthy to just about any team in football and say sky's the limit. Yeah, it's huge. In an injury sport, health matters an awful lot. But the 49ers were just decimated by injury last year. The number one team in terms of snaps lost to injury. A grand total of 57 plays with Purdy, McCaffrey, Aiyuk, Debo, and Kittle all on the field together. You had Trent Williams missing more games than ever before in his career high 7 games. The odd start for Ricky Pearsall. Juwan Jennings would miss multiple games. Christian McCaffrey, a career low 167 snaps. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, and they still produced a very middle of the pack offense in so many ways. Injuries, red zone failure on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Red zone improvement on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Don't be as injured as the most team dealing with the most injuries in football. And the 49ers can win the West, Larry. They can do it against a schedule that just could not be more favorable. You cannot do better than easiest schedule in all of football. And I know that, ease in football is always to be debated. There really are no games out there. But when you look ahead, and this is what Warren Sharp does, this is what these prognosticators do. They're not just going based on, what happened last year. They're looking at this year. They're pushing it all into their AI systems and their algorithms, and they're trying to come up with who's going to win what. Team totals here. To projected team totals, Larry, the 49ers have 10 games scheduled against opponents with a projected win total of 7.5 or less, and only one game against a team with a win total of 11 or better. This is so set up to be a groovy year for the San Francisco 49ers that there's enough to get excited about before you go making shit up about Brandon Aiyuk's going to be out there against Seattle in week 1. Probably not, but I think they win that game anyways.
Okay, but I'll push back. The last two teams yes, this is an easy schedule. The 49ers are playing the statistic easiest schedule since 2015. So it's the easiest schedule not just this year. It's the easiest schedule not just in recent years. It's the easiest schedule in the last decade, according to statistics. Okay, but it's all based on last year. And it's such a this year kind of a league. But what needs to be pointed out there is that the last two teams that entered the year with that moniker, you have the statistically speaking easiest schedule, finished with losing records.
Normally, though, the teams that have the easiest schedule earn that by being bad teams themselves.
Right.
And one of the things that Warren Sharp was, trying to explain is that the old adage of you are what your record says you are is no longer really true. Specifically, when talking about the 49ers. The 49ers were not as bad as a 6-11 football team last year. They weren't.
Nobody wants to hear it, Damon. Nobody wants to hear it. But the 49ers had, nobody talks about this. And it's like, and because nobody talks about it, it's like if you talk about anything like this, it's like, oh, sour grapes or, oh, excuse making. But there is an element to the schedule that gets no publicity at all. And it's not listed anywhere. It's hidden from the public. And that is the rest differential. And last year, the 49ers were minus 22 in rest differential. So over the course of a 4-month-long season, they had 22 less rest days than their combined opponents did. It was so bad that Baltimore was like plus 16. And the combination of Niners and Ravens if the Niners and Ravens had played in the Super Bowl last year, the Ravens would have gotten there with like 40 or like 37 or 41 more rest days. Now, Damon, that would be a lot of extra rest days over the course of a full. If I told you you had 37 extra days off of your school year, which is 9 months long, you'd be like, whoa, are you kidding me? We have less than a month. We have 5 weeks less school this year.
We can plan
than
a
other
vacation
schools.
to anywhere. Where do you want to go? Anywhere.
It'd be unbelievable. A 5 weeks off of a 9 month school year is a ton. And people would be jumping up and down. This was almost 40 extra rest days in a 4-month football season. So I don't want to hear about, people say, that's BS excuses. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not BS excuses. Maybe you're too limited intelligently to factor it in. Maybe you want to ignore it. But the 49ers were minus 22 net rest differential in 2024.
Can I also
the 49ers in 2025 are plus 9 rest differential.
The 49ers. The 49ers not only, how about this? Any team will drown under the following circumstances. You're the most hurt team in football. You have the least amount of time to recover in football. That's going to sink everyone and everyone. Every Super Bowl team that you've ever watched with your own 2 eyes doesn't go to the Super Bowl under those parameters that the 49ers were playing with. By the way, the team itself complained about this 0 times. I'm sure internally there was a lot of guffawing over the schedule and the rest and all that stuff. But nobody beyond Warren Sharp and you and I and Guy Haberman, I know, was also all over this, was really focusing on what a disadvantage the 49ers had. And again, these are not.
It's not by accident. That's the other part. The part that I don't like is it's not by accident. Like the Jets. Give you an example. The Jets, when they had Aaron Rodgers, the Jets had the easiest rest differential of any team in football. Why? Yep. Why is that? Because the league wanted desperately to see the Jets, resurface as a legitimate Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers in the massive media monster, which is New York City. And they were dreaming the big dream, and they gave the Jets a very favorable rest situation, and it still blew up in their face. It doesn't guarantee anything, obviously, but but so it's manipulated. And that's where the NFL gets a little bit credibility lost. It's manipulated.
The NFL is not interested in roster equity or scheduling equity. They're interested in the most ratings they can possibly get from the best stories and biggest matchups that they can possibly sell to you at any and all times. Again, it was so unnecessary for it to be Chiefs-Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Chiefs-Cowboys is a ratings monster no matter where you put it. That game could kick off at 3 a.m. 50 million people will watch it at 3 a.m. You didn't need to put it on Thanksgiving, but they did because they just want to have the biggest Thanksgiving number that they could turn around and show their networks and say, aren't you glad you're spending $5 billion with us?
And the people that will jump up and down and try to counter us and say, the NFL's always been this way, and why are you guys complaining about it now? And wrong again.
The
NFL has been like this from time to time, but all you got to do is read the Warren Sharp, and since Damon just talked to Warren Sharp, I will give Warren Sharp my full endorsement. He is outstanding, and he wrote a full breakdown on this, and I think he does every year. I know that he wrote one in 2024, and it's worth reading. And the point that he was making was not that the rest differential is significant and a significant factor. That's obvious. The point that he was making is that the NFL in recent years, and when I say recent years, I'm talking about within the last 5 years, has basically totally, ignored the competitive disadvantages or advantages or disadvantages of the rest differential, and they're now wanting the best matchups. So, like, as Damon said, they want the best matchups with the biggest audiences across the board, and fairness be gone. They don't care about fairness anymore. They've sold out their fairness for their revenue. Revenue is ruling the day, and because it's ruling the day, we're getting more variable, let's just call it rest differential, from team to team, and that basically means that they don't care as much about equity and they care more about revenue. They're selling their credibility for a few extra bucks. I hope those extra bucks are worth it.
Make no mistakes at all. The NFL is not even working for the NFL at this point. The NFL is working for these networks, for these streaming services that they're turning
and for the
around.
sponsors.
And yeah, exactly. So they want to deliver ratings numbers with competitive aspects of the game be damned. You know, that's it. If they
just want the biggest number, just the biggest number. And guess how you get the biggest number? You get the biggest number by paying your partners back by giving them the best matchups. Oh, what about competitive balance? Competitive balance be damned. What about the Niners being utilized, way more than they probably should? Who cares? They're one of our marquee teams. It's all about our ability to make money and their equity as far as pursuing a championship. It's a factor, but it's not a major factor, and it's not a motivating factor. And it's not my take, by the way, either. It's fact.
Right. The NFL.
Warren Sharp outlined the whole thing.
The NFL scheduled Cowboys Chiefs on Thanksgiving in hope that Taylor Swift would sing the national anthem. That's what they were hoping. They asked her. I mean, that's the thing. That they just thought, hey, this game's going to get 40 million, but if Taylor sings the national anthem, that the audience will peak at the national anthem. That'll give us 55 million because every single 14-year-old girl in America is going to want to see that. And that's how the NFL is thinking. By the way, I'm not bagging on Taylor Swift here either. It's just as I've said so many times, the NFL would crash a plane full of senior citizens into a nursery school if it meant $1 billion more. They would do it.
Don't say that.
That's the truth. It's the absolute truth. We're looking at the
They would not do that.
We're looking at the whole Pablo Torre collusion thing happening. We're looking at the new NFL PA guy who is in bed with.
I'm not familiar with the Pablo Torre.
Pablo Torre has proof that the NFL had a collusion to depress salaries, and after figuring it all out and agreeing there was collusion, they decided to bury that result and not share it with anyone. And there is some damning documents about owners colluding specifically against Deshaun Watson and guaranteed contracts. And even though it was discovered that was happening, the players weren't known about it. And now we find out that what's the guy named Taylor, whatever his name is? Let me see if I wrote this. Is that what his name is?
I don't know. I don't know who you're talking about.
It's the NFLPA here guy. Let me see if I can find this. I'm sorry, I can't find it right now. But basically, the guy who is the head of the NFLPA is also working for an equity firm that is trying to buy into the NFL, and that means he is. You can't be working on behalf of owner revenue and representing the players at the same time. The players asked him to step down and resign. He has not yet. There will be a little bit of a war here. This isn't what I thought we were going to be talking about today. But the NFL will fuck over anyone and everyone at all times in the name of bigger ratings, bigger dollars, more attention. Period. End of story.
Greenbacks. Their motivation is greenbacks. I would never, ever, ever, ever suggest the NFL is fixed. I never would. I don't believe it is. But if you say, is it manipulated to retain the audience? Yeah, it is. I really believe that. Mike T says, where does your rest differential theory align with the 49ers not participating in international games? Are they getting punished? None in 24-25. First of all, a couple things, Mike. One, it's not my rest differential theory. It's Warren Sharp's rest differential evidence.
Fact.
It's not a theory. It's not a theory. It's fact. It's absolute fact. You know, the NFL, he outlines it. The NFL 5 years ago cared way more about incongruities, let's call it that, with their scheduling more than they do today. Today, they will allow scheduling that they wouldn't have allowed 5 years ago because they literally have changed their philosophy from we need this to be equitable to we need this to be profitable, and equitable is secondary to profitable. So it's not my theory. As far as your question, though, the Niners not participating in international games, I think these are separate issues altogether. I don't think they are related in any way, shape, or form. I do think that the 49ers, because the Niners travel an absurd amount of miles, according to the NFL Fatigue Index, the 49ers will travel the fifth most miles, 14,143, and the second most without international travel in NFL history. So the Niners already travel a ton, and so do the Seahawks because of where they are in the country. So I'm not saying that impacts the international, but sometimes I wonder, do they not want to put Niners, Seahawks, Rams in this international nightmare when they already are at a disadvantage with their travel, miles logged?
Well,
but I think it's on a rotation.
Game. I bet you they're an international game next year. I bet you they're going to get sent overseas next year. It's going to be their time. Their time comes up. Everyone gets the rotation, and I think it will happen.
And they want to. I mean, the Niners are aggressively trying to market their brand in London, in Mexico City, and they are very much an international, brand, and they're probably, if not the biggest draw, they are among the NFL's biggest draws globally.
I remember, I'll never forget, I got off a train in Paris. I'm literally stepping off the train in Paris, and before I reached the train station, on the same platform with me was this dude wearing a Joe Montana jersey. I was like, holy shit.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, right? I mean, the 49ers were really good for 20 years. I mean, from 1981 to 2000, basically,
the first time
they were pretty much on top, if not the champion. They were in contention for a Super Bowl. So when you're good for that long, you're going to have all kinds of fans.
The dawn of satellite television walked hand in hand with the 49ers dynasty. So the first games that were being shown in Europe were probably Niners games, so that's why you have so many fans over there. I got to say this too. Raiders, very big presence in Europe. They really do. There's a lot of Raiders fans too. But look, there is no denying that what Warren Sharp was saying about rest disadvantage is a real thing, right? Thank you, Joseph. You can find the interview on Damon Bruce Plus, the YouTube page. You can download it anywhere you get your podcast. The Warren Sharp pod is already up. I'd like to play it,
and it will probably be under lives, right? It's under lives.
No, it's not. It's a video.
Oh, it's not under video?
It's a video. We recorded it, and now I've been splicing it up. I'm going to have a few chaptered videos coming out. As a matter of fact, I'm not doing a live show today. I'm going to be doing some editing at 11 o'clock and working on. So
it's not under live. So basically, go to the thing and click videos. When you go to Damon's page on his YouTube page, you'll see a bunch of labels at the in the middle there, and you just click the one that says videos and look for Warren Sharp, and it'll be easy to find. It should be up top because it was the last one he did.
Thank you, Larry. You're right. The thing that you and I think we're really drawn to Warren's analysis due to the whole rest disadvantage thing. And you specifically being the NFL draft crackhead that you are, you've expressed an awful lot of disappointment in John Lynch. And the reason why the 49ers, might not have had the best year last year is because of a staggering amount of failed early round draft picks. Well, I was talking to Warren Sharp about that yesterday. And if you don't mind me, I'd like to play a little of this video for you here, Larry, and for the people watching. I asked Warren straight up. So let me just ask you, do you think John Lynch is a good general manager?
Look, it's very difficult to say that I think that he is. I think if Brock Purdy does not emerge, and I don't know anybody who could expect Mr. Irrelevant to emerge and become the starting franchise quarterback and get a contract like he just did. So a lot of that has to be luck. And if that doesn't happen, John Lynch might be out of a job.
I think everyone's gone. If Brock Purdy didn't happen, I don't know if anyone remains.
So for that simple fact alone, I cannot say that John Lynch is a good general manager. I do not think that he has done exceptionally well in the draft. The clear models do not agree that he's done well. So I think they are going to need a lot of these young players to step up. I think they're a very fragile team as well. They need their starting caliber guys, the guys that are getting paid the most money, that you guys have more of than most other teams because you're such a top heavy roster with some of these key players getting paid a lot of money. You need them to stay healthy. So you need health from the players that are being paid, and you need these young guys to step into prominent roles. You mentioned Robert Saleh. I just want to make sure that I reiterate that fact to your listeners. I think it's going to be a massive upgrade. I know some of your listeners probably don't love the personnel that you have, front to back on your starting 11 defensively, and it is probably the weak link on the roster. That being said, you finally are going to be coached by someone who not only had a ton of success, but I think still was doing a great job coaching his side of the ball in New York for the Jets.
So, Larry, I'm just going to cut it off right there because he gets into Saleh, and we get into the fact that the 49ers had such extreme second half struggles last year. But that's just part of an interview, and this is something that you and I have talked about an awful lot. Is John Lynch possibly the weakest link when it comes to, the roster construction and the reaches that he's made? And Warren even has the caveat saying, hey, man, if Nick Martin and Upton Stout turn into really good players, and if Mikael Williams is a total stud, then John Lynch is officially smarter than all of us and all the math models that say he reached too much for all these guys. And huzzah, that's why you got John Lynch as your GM. But if it doesn't work out, he's just saying that there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that John Lynch is so far off the projected who should be taken where map that maybe you have to stop trusting his instincts if this class doesn't start really working out. Is that fair? I think it is.
Okay. I mean, I think it's, first of all, it's never easy to grade things out. It's never black and white. It's always shades of gray, right? It's never all one way or all another way. If it was, it would be real easy, and it's not real easy. It's very difficult. So on one hand, I think you got to give John Lynch an enormous amount of credit because he has given the 49ers a mature, likable, public face of the franchise.
Right. He's not Farhan. He's not a failure. You cannot go to Super Bowl.
He's not Trent Baalke.
Failure. No, exactly.
It's not Trent Baalke. He's not Jim Harbaugh. I mean, during the Harbaugh years, the Niners were successful, but they also had a really rough thing is that nobody liked them. Nobody liked Cap. Nobody liked Harbs. Nobody liked Baalke. Nobody liked that team. They liked that team was good. Don't get me wrong. We all enjoyed how physical they were, but there wasn't like a likable face of the franchise. John Lynch, I think, has given the 49ers a lot of credibility league-wide. I think he has given them a lot of, the buck stops with him. He is the adult in the room. He is classy. He is smart. He's a great face of your franchise. He's given them tremendous credibility. So that's one area, right? Credibility-wise, the face of the franchise, that's one area. Done really well. Okay. Then there's the trade aspect. This guy traded like a second and a fifth for Trent Williams, who's the greatest offensive tackle of his era. This guy traded a first, a second, and a third for Christian McCaffrey and almost won the Super Bowl and added other guys like Charles Menahue and other trades on the way that did help the 49ers, get real close. And they have had 4 NFC Championship game appearances, and they've had 2 Super Bowl appearances. And if they had won either of those games, would we be talking about this differently? And I can't put that much into one game. Like, oh yeah, if you'd won the Super Bowl, now you're undeniable. but because you haven't won the Super Bowl, now you're crap and you suck.
Right. But look,
but at the same time, I think you have to be fair about the failures. This is 9 drafts. 9. He's led 9 drafts. And their first round picks are Solomon Thomas, Reuben Foster, Mike McGlinchey, Nick Bosa, great one, Javon Kinlaw, Brandon Aiyuk, Trey Lance, Ricky Pearsall, and Mikael Williams. It's not an awesome group of first round picks. So yeah, I would say on drafting, I think I got to give John Lynch a C. On trades, I think I got to give him an A-. And on face of the franchise, I got to give him an A. But to me, that doesn't, when you cook it all together, Damon, that doesn't end up with like an F. To me, that ends up with like a B-. So I that's what I'd give him. I'd give him like a B-. A for face of the franchise, A- for the trades. Kind of a, probably like a B-, C+, C for the drafts. I mean, he did find Kittle. He's drafted some great players, Warner, Kittle, you name it, Purdy in the 7th round, but
he's
had more late draft
too many misses. And he's had early draft success, especially when you factor in Brock Purdy, so
yes.
There are, two things can be equally true. Once said Ralph Barbieri very correctly. And John does have a lot going for him. And some of the moves he has made have been outstanding. But the amount
and the success. I mean, Damon, are we in this world where, is this Talladega Nights? Are you Ricky Bobby? It's like if you ain't winning, you're losing, and all that crap. I mean, bottom line is outside of the Chiefs, there isn't a team that's been more successful than the Niners. Here, I have the numbers in front of me. In fact, I'll just read you this little number. It's kind of pretty interesting, Damon. From 2019 through 2023. Okay, so that's, Lynch and Shanahan took over in 2017. So basically, and Saleh came in 2019.
But you have 2 years of full flush that you might as well just get rid of.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So 2019 through 2023, the 49ers won 54 regular season games. Only the Packers won more games among NFC teams, and they went to 2 Super Bowls, losing to the Chiefs both times. The Niners from 2019 to 2023 also had 8 playoff wins over that span. That's second in the NFL, only behind the Chiefs. So, I don't think, I'm a draft guy. I believe in the draft. And I always want more. And I hold John and everybody who does drafting to really, really, really high standards. But I think if we're fair, and Damon, you and I have been doing this for a long time. And there's people that do this for 5 minutes and are not very fair with people. But if you do this for when I say this, I'm talking about talking about teams and sports radio, now sports media. We're doing YouTube today. If you do this for as long as Damon and I have been doing this, you don't do this for that long if you're not credible. You don't do this for 30 freaking years and have great general managers, coaches, players, and everything. These people don't come on your show all the time. Damon wouldn't have gotten Warren Sharp if he didn't have credibility. I wouldn't have the people I've had on my show, from Baldy to Steve Young to others, without credibility. All right? So, and you don't get credibility by being cheap with people and not being fair. We are going to be fair to John Lynch. We are going to be fair to Kyle Shanahan. We are going to be fair to the players. Period. End of story. End of sentence. We are going to be fair. That's how you do this for decades. And in fairness, John Lynch has been well above the average NFL drafter. He's not been as good as Howie Roseman. He hasn't been as good as Eric DeCosta. He hasn't been as good as Les Snead. He's not the best GM going, but he's not the worst.
Right. He is right. He's not even close to being the worst, but he might be the weak link, and there might be more responsibility attached to roster construction being the reason why the 49ers haven't quite gotten it done. I mean, if we're going to throw away the first couple of drafts, we can't throw away the last three, right? Well, last three, you got Dominic Pooney, Renardo Green, Ricky Pearsall. You got one stud for sure. I like Renardo Green a lot. Ricky Pearsall, we'll all see. In 2023, Jair Brown, again, lost his starting job. Jake Moody, nobody likes him. Cameron Latu, not on the team. In 2022, it's Drake Jackson, Tyrion Davis-Price, and Danny Gray. All three guys are gone. So there have been a lot of missed picks that were in the time, you wanted to get excited about them. And look, this is what Warren Sharp wrote. After ranking 28th in draft value last year, the Niners did even worse this year, ranking 31st in draft value. The Niners had the sixth most draft capital and potentially wasted a lot of it. He says wide receiver Jordan Watkins out of Ole Miss was picked at 131, but wasn't even ranked in the top 300 by the consensus big boards. Nick Martin, who I know you're excited about, Larry. I'm excited about Nick Martin.
I like Watkins too.
Yeah, he was drafted at 75, but wasn't projected to go until around 200. Marquis Signal, Upton Stout also represent multiple round reaches. So John Lynch,
but I don't know,
to show us he's the smart. He really was on it, and he was right about these things. Or once again, he is making reaches that are not delivering. We will find out.
I don't subscribe to this theory. I really don't. It's the old saying, it's like if your premise is wrong, your conclusion by definition is wrong. So if you're, so if your premise was that the guy was a first round pick, doesn't mean that he was. That was just your evaluation. And a lot of times we go by just kind of like the mock drafts say, yeah, but who's doing the mock drafts? A lot of times it's media people, and a lot of times it's people that are doing these mock drafts haven't even seen even half of the prospects. So it's like I don't put tons of credence in that. And let me just say this too. Let me just say this. As great as Bill Walsh is probably the most credible. He might be one of the most credible voices in the history of pro football.
Absolutely.
Right? This is who Bill Walsh invested in first picks in his drafts. 1979. Yeah, he took Joe Montana, but he also took some guy named James Owens in the second round. Okay. 1980, he had 2 first-round picks, and he took Keena Turner in the second round. But in the first round, he took Earl Cooper and Jim Stuckey. Okay, they were on the team. They won the Super Bowl in '81, but those are first round picks. Right. Then he took Ronnie Lott in '81, great pick, and Eric Wright in '81 in the second round. But also he took some guy named John Hardy out of Iowa, nose tackle in the second round. He didn't do anything. In '82, Walsh's first pick in the second round was Bubba Paris. In '83, his first pick in the second round was Roger Craig. Great pick. But he also took Blanchard Montgomery in the third round. Okay. The next year, '84, his first round pick was Todd Shell. Now he took Michael Carter, Jeff Fuller, later in the draft, Guy McIntyre, John Frank. But his first round pick in '84 was Todd Shell. Okay. He played 38 NFL games. Rice in '85. Traded up for Rice, but every other pick in that draft was a bust. 86 was his bonanza draft, but his first draft choice that year was Larry Roberts. Harris Barton was his first round pick in '87, but he had 2 number ones. His second number one was Terrence Flagler, bust. His second round pick was Jeff Briegel out of USC, steroid monster, bust. His first pick in '88 was Danny Stubbs.
Yeah, well, look, we can do this with everybody. We can do this
he's bad. Keith DeLong was his first round pick in '89. Dexter Carter in '90. My point is just that, Bill Walsh is considered like the greatest. And yet, if you go back, there's all kinds of mistakes at the top of the draft. The bottom line is it's really, really hard to draft. And instead of saying John Lynch sucks, I prefer to sit here and go, you know what? John Lynch doesn't suck. Howie Roseman is awesome. How about why don't we start there? Eric DaCosta is awesome. Brett Veach is awesome. Les Snead is awesome. These guys are really, really good at this.
Well, let me
I
tell you
wouldn't
what-
necessarily say that John Lynch is terrible. I'm
No
just
one's
saying that
saying
he's maybe not quite in that category. And since he was a Hall of Fame safety, it probably would be asking a lot for him to be a Hall of Fame executive. There's only one Ozzie Newsome, right?
I look, you make a ton of good points. No one is here bagging on John Lynch, but the team is in a situation right now where, they are. And another thing that John Lynch has been really good at is retaining the players that he wants to stay. He really does. Outside of Dre Greenlaw, who feels like might have got away, but then got hurt again. So it doesn't feel nearly as much like that. Right now, the 49ers are the only team with 3 players making $30 million or more on average in the NFL. Brock Purdy, Nick Bosa, and Brandon Aiyuk. They're also tied with the Eagles as the only 2 teams with 7 players making at least $19 million per year. That's Purdy, Bosa, Aiyuk, Williams, Warner, Kittle, and McCaffrey. When you have that much money invested in your top shelf liquor, you start losing those liquor bottles. You get into trouble quickly because you're working in an underpaid, less experienced depth chart. The underpaid, less experienced depth chart for the 49ers could not carry the freight of last year's injuries. They really couldn't. Now, maybe they might have been able to if the rest disadvantage had not been so extreme and they had a little bit more time to coach some of their back of the roster players up to front of the roster production. Nick Sorensen, again, being replaced by Robert Saleh, massive upgrade. New special teams, massive upgrade. But if the Niners have their highest paid players injured, like a line of dominoes falls down again, they're going to be belly up once again. They have an awful lot of money invested in the top third of their roster. And once that gets hurt, you're in a lot of trouble. That's the Niners, I think, exist. All teams exist in that universe. The Niners doubly so. And is that
there's just
Lynch? Is that Parag? Now we can start.
Well, what's on Lynch? I mean, what's on Lynch is that it's not like the Niners had the most injuries in pro football. Detroit had more crushing injuries than the Niners. Detroit lost Aiden Hutchinson. They lost they lost basically the best player on their defense. So, there were other teams that got hurt. The Green Bay Packers, the year that Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl over Pittsburgh, had 22 guys on season-ending IR. So everybody has injuries. It's a matter of how well do you draft. And if they had drafted better, they would have been deeper. If they had been deeper, they would have been able to withstand those injuries. So, they weren't deep enough. Right. But last year was, a situation where it was just too much to overcome. You had the shortened off season, the drama of losing a second Super Bowl to the Chiefs. Trent Williams talked about the emotional nature of that. Well, then you had all these tragedies, you had injuries, you had no rest. To me,
you build an entire offense around Christian McCaffrey, and then you lose him instantly. That's a hard thing to overcome. Again, Warren Sharp writes, the 49ers didn't collapse in 2024. They eroded piece by piece, star by star. One injury turned into 10. Then a close loss became 6. The same core that powered a deep playoff run was still there, but everything else fell apart around it. And I just think that is the completely honest look back at what just happened.
And they also made some bad decisions. Let's hold their feet to the fire for their bad decisions. Devondre Campbell, really? Mm-hmm. Over D. Winters all year, really? I literally had to beg Sorensen for answers as to why he liked Devondre Campbell.
You did not.
Devondre Campbell was so bad. And I'm like, what does Devondre Campbell... Finally, I'm like, why is Devondre Campbell playing over D. Winters? What does Devondre Campbell do that D. Winters does not do? And Sorensen looked me in the eye and told me that Devondre Campbell was a locker room leader, a strong veteran leader.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, dude, You've got to be crazy. It's like I'm in that locker room. This guy's losing his S in the locker room. He was swearing and having all kinds of issues and anger issues. It was obvious to anybody who was in 5 yards of his locker that he was dead on arrival and that it was time to cut him and move on. And everybody saw it except for the Niners. So that's on them. I mean, that's on them. They brought him in. They should have recognized the personality type. I did. They should have gotten him out of their locker room. Instead, they didn't. They went with him. Then they also screwed up by going with Isaac Yiadom and Rock Ya-Sin over Samuel Womack. They screwed up the year before going with Isaiah Oliver over Deshaun Jameson. You know, that's the one thing that bugs me about this regime is that they have so little courage in their convictions on personnel that all it takes is for Jed to be like, oh, you spent a little money of Jed's on a free agent, and suddenly it's like that free agent will make the roster, and we're going to cut Samuel Womack. We're going to cut Deshaun Jameson because we can't spend a penny of Jed's money on any free agent and not have that free agent make the roster. It's like, look him in the eye and tell him, guess what, Jed, we signed Yiadom to a $2 million deal, and now we got to camp and Rock Ya-Sin. Great, we gave him a little money, but those guys aren't as good as Samuel Womack, and we're going to keep Samuel Womack, and we're going to cut these guys. But no, nobody has the courage to tell Jed that they spent $3 million of his money and it didn't necessarily work out, and so they compound their mistake by staying with it.
And what's odd, though, what's also
crazy,
odd,
they did it multiple times. They can do it again this year.
What's odd, too, though, Larry, is that they were able to make that argument with the single most valuable, crucial position on the roster. You know, it wasn't very long before they were sitting in Jed's office saying, yeah, we know we spent an awful lot of money on Jimmy Garoppolo, and then we traded for Trey Lance. But Mr. Irrelevant is the future of the damn franchise, and we got to start playing the guy who we are spending so little money on, he doesn't even count towards the salary cap. So if you were able to have that conversation with ownership, it's amazing that these other conversations weren't able to be had and delivered the way that one was. Now, you can also say, well, it took several injuries in front of Brock Purdy for the opportunity to create itself. You had to have guys going down before Brock could stand up. But that's got to be the single hardest conversation to possibly have. Yeah, we know we spent more money on signing Jimmy Garoppolo than has ever been spent on a quarterback, and then we gave up more draft capital than we have ever in the history of a franchise to trade up for Trey Lance. But both these guys kind of suck compared to the dude we found on the street. They were able to have that conversation. But again, Devondre Campbell over D. Winters was a bridge too far. Like, how's that possible?
I don't know, but it's pretty obvious. And this year, it could happen again. They have guaranteed Saron Neal $2.25 million. But they signed a couple of undrafted free agent corners and Jacob Robinson out of BYU and Derek Canteen, who played at Cincinnati. And those guys look good in the minicamp. But guess what? When it comes right down to it, one of those, the Niners will probably wind up cutting an undrafted free agent corner to keep Saron Neal, because Saron Neal was guaranteed $2.25 million. Watch
Based
it happen.
on Saron Neal's special teams credibility, though, I think I could live with that. You know, if his special teams is vastly improved and he's making tackles every week, no
special teamer is worth a starting caliber corner. Last year, they said goodbye to Womack. The year before that, they said goodbye to Jameson. Those were starting caliber corners. So we'll see. We'll see if one of these young corners shows that they can play from scrimmage and they get cut, they will get snapped up in a second because everybody needs corners in a passing NFL. But the Niners are going to give a roster spot to Saron Neal. You can bank on. I mean, as sure as I'm sitting here on the July the 11th, I guarantee you it's going to happen. Now,
I guarantee you're right.
But what if Jacob Robinson? That's my point, though. If Jacob Robinson outplays Saron Neal, the smarter play is to say to Jed, "Hey, Jed, sorry, We took $2.25 million. We gave it to Saron Neal. But guess what? We got to training camp, and Jacob Robinson was quite a bit better. Should we compound our mistake and cut the better player because we invested some free agent money in Saron Neal? Or should we chalk it up to a loss and go with the better corner? I would say
I'd bring
chalk it up to a loss and go with the better corner. But history says they won't do that.
Asante Samuel Jr., I've done my show about Keenan Allen. You know how I feel about him. I would bring these players in. And if they're beaten out by younger players, it's the way it goes. If the Niners,
but I mean, some of those guys are going to make some money, right? And so I understand that you don't want to spend lots and lots and lots of money. You don't want to spend big dollars on somebody and then tell Jed, you know what, we're not doing it. But $2.25 million is not big dollars in the grand scheme of things. And but that's what they've guaranteed to Saron Neal. So Saron Neal is probably going to be on the team. But what if Jacob Robinson outplays him? What if the younger corner is better for the third year in a row? Are the Niners going to go to the older special teamer? Yeah, they are. And that's a problem. So I think they
So was Willie Snead right, Larry? All those years ago, was Willie Snead right when he said the 49ers have their preferred favorites and you can't climb up a roster even if you're outplaying a guy because of the way they think about things? I mean, I remember when Snead dropped that bit of criticism on the way out the door about the team. Maybe he was right. Having said all that, look, after my talk with Warren Sharp, I know we dove into some negativity. I got to tell you, I really like the 49ers this year. I like their chances an awful lot. I like their circumstances. I like their chances. I think they're going to improve massively. I think that Brock Purdy is about to silence an awful lot of critics with the way that he goes out and plays this year. Who was it? There was a guy who recently said some, glowing things about Brock Purdy, maybe a little bit too glowing, to be totally honest with you. Was it, somebody just said, it's not that the 49ers are propping up Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is propping up the 49ers. And I think that there is a little bit of truth to that. There really is. He's a very, very good quarterback. Did you also see that on Bussin' with the Boys, he said he'd rather win 1 Super Bowl in San Francisco than 3 Super Bowls in Seattle? I mean, if that's not playing to the room, I don't know what is.
I mean, that was a ridiculous series of questions. And, come on, man. I mean, that was just stupid.
Here's the thing. They were trying to get him to say something negative, and he didn't take the bait. This is what smart guys do.
I mean, that's just, it's like at one point, Brock's like, hey, man, are we boys? Or are you just trying to get me to say stuff? And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking, too. It's like, are you guys really friends? Or are you trying to get him to just say stuff? And some of it's just so stupid and low IQ. I mean, would you rather win 3 with Seattle? Yeah, like anybody's going to say they'd rather win 3 with another team as opposed to 1 with the team that they're on.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
That was a little.
A dumber person might have taken the bait. A dumber person in the moment might think, well,
he did kind of take the bait. They did kind of get
uncompetitive. If I say I'd rather win 1 than 3,
Damon, he did take the bait. He did take the bait. At one point, they got Brock to say that he'd go to prison. Brock Purdy said in that interview he'd go to prison
for 1 year to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, come on. He totally fell into their trap.
Outside of the,
I wouldn't go to prison at all.
Outside of the guaranteed success of my children, there's nothing I would do a year. By the way, prison, no. Jail, I could do a year in jail. A year in prison, I'm scared of prison. I don't think I'm as scared of jail as I am of prison. So I would do a year in prison to be guaranteed financial security for myself and my family for the rest of my family's existence. I would do a year in prison for that. Nothing else. I'd do 6 months to see Talking Heads. I would do 6 months in prison.
Band?
To go to Talking Heads concert. Yes, I would. Talking Heads coming back. Larry, I would spend $5,000 to go see Talking Heads. I would have neither of my children go to college if I could go see Talking Heads. It'll never happen. So
what?
Oh, I would love to see Talking Heads live.
Who knew that you were such a talking header? But
I want what I can't have. I want what doesn't exist.
I would not be going to jail or prison or anything else.
Maybe 3 months. Maybe just 3 months. They're old now.
And by the way, it's like So what if you didn't go to jail, your family would be what, destitute and poor, or are you just guaranteeing their future? I mean, because I to me, if it's one thing if they're going to be destitute, but we Jim Stuckey fans and the John Andrew Leon. Jim Stuckey ruled, dude. He ruled. Yeah, he never he made no Pro Bowls ever, but he ruled. Stuckey was good. I talked to him a few years ago. Stuckey was a killer pick. Now what? This is like a joke?
Are they talking about Stuckey's the restaurant? Is that
no? But Jim Stuckey was a decent 49er. Decent 49er.
Max for Talking Heads 49er Red Zone. Larry, should we get into some supers and then talk a little bit of baseball since it's the Doyers in town for Doyers Giants?
I'm going tonight. I'll be out there. Matt McHose. Yeah, that's a great name. He said, did Eric Mangini miss out on buying Mancini's Sleep World when he was coaching here? Could have been Mangini's Sleep World and no one would have noticed. How about that?
It wasn't enough of a rebrand to go for it, so good job.
Claudaddy Arcades in the house. And Claudaddy is a great sponsor of the Krug Show. We already gave him a little pump, but we'll do it again. He's a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. Big thanks to him, and he's been with us in spring training. He's got a brand new location in Capitola Mall opening later this year, as well as one in Visalia Mall down in the Central Valley. So thank you, Claudaddy Arcades. He says, counting down the days to training camp. Like, follow, subscribe for 49er content. Yes, we are going to bring you daily reports on practice, video, interviews, podium. Believe me, I've spent all of June and the first part of July just working out like a madman. I mean, I the other day I got 5 reps of 225 pounds on the bench. Hadn't done that since I was 29 years old. My 14-year-old, who I had spot me, said, Dad, you had 3 more in you. I said, no, I didn't. I was going to drop it on myself if you weren't there. But I decided to, do my own training camp ahead of camp, and we are going to bring you, I'm going to have more energy, more content, more of everything, more sponsors, new sponsors coming aboard, lots of the new things coming aboard.
No one will be more physically prepared to stand on a sideline and jot down notes.
I seriously, it does take physical. It takes a lot because it's hot and there's sun and you're out there for hours, and then I'm streaming at night, and then I'm getting up in the morning. I'm doing it all again, and I'm getting more sun and more heat and more. It is a grind. Believe me.
You know what I should get you for a birthday or something? You should get a parasol. You should have a little sun umbrella. To keep your complexion.
There'll be no parasol. But I definitely have to make sure that I, tan my, that I don't burn my scalp, because
SPF 70
as my hair thins, I get burnt through my head on my part here. See, and then my wife doesn't like that. So. Thomas Selman says, I feel like I have more confidence in Ricky than most. I thought he was great the last 2 games. Small sample size, but I'm excited for year 2. I think everybody is. But it was a small sample size. Joseph Ernberg, BA shouldn't play at all this season. We thought he looked bad last season. Just wait till he plays this season. He's going to be a real shell of himself. Yeah, that's the other aspect of this, is that it's not just how soon can he get back. Is like, isn't he going to be diminished?
Yeah,
I think he's gonna. I think it might be a little naive to not think that.
Well, and if
he'll be diminished,
if his whole best attribute was he cuts on a dime more than he is a speed demon, it gets harder to cut on dimes when you rebuild knees.
Yeah. Yes. Claudette Arcades back in the house, $9.99. Thank you, Claudette. He says we need an affordable wide receiver placeholder for BA and our rooks to start the season. Keenan Allen reminds me of Anquan Bolden coming over later in his career. Similar age, stats, etc. Thoughts? I love Keenan Allen, but here's the question: what happens in week 3, week 4? Then what? You have you right now you only have 5 or 6 spots for wide receivers. Let's say just for the sake of the conversation, there's 6. Brandon Aiyuk, Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, right? Those are your 1, 2, 3, your starters. Jacob Cowing, fourth round pick, looks great. Going to be on the team for sure. Jordan Watkins, 4th round pick this year, runs 4.37, looks great. Demarcus Robinson. So there's 6 right there. So you have 6. So if you add Keenan Allen, now you have 7. One of those guys has to be cut when Brandon Allen's ready to go. And if Mayoko's right and he's going to be ready to go early, now who are you cutting? You're going to cut Keenan Allen. You're going to cut JJ. You're going to cut Pearsall.
How about this?
I would make. See how that goes. I mean, you can't go with Keenan Allen. I would go with Keenan.
I would make the addition and cross that bridge when we get to it.
I would go with this is what I would do. There's going to be a lot of really good. I went through it. There's going to be a lot. I would say 5 or 6, maybe more, good young receivers. That are kind of more like practice squad, kind of under the radar receivers. Go get one of those guys. Why? Because you can move those guys back and forth from the roster to the practice squad, so on and so forth. They're more adaptable. They're easier to move. And also, when you have I don't want to see the Niners being forced to play guys. They were forced to play Devondre Campbell, they thought. Why? Because he was a veteran. If you bring in Keenan Allen, they're going to be forced to play Keenan Allen. What if they get to camp and Isaac Guerendo, Jacob Cowing, and Jordan Watkins are creating separation for days and look fantastic, but you got to keep putting old man Keenan Allen out there because you signed him? But I hear you, Claudette. I wouldn't go veteran route. I'd go the younger route. There's younger receivers around pro football that will shake free. Brendan Rice, Jerry's son. I brought up Elijah Badger from the Chiefs. Chiefs are loaded. They have this Elijah Badger. Badger's really good. And he was with Ricky Pearsall at Florida. He was with Ricky Pearsall before that at ASU. He runs in the 4.4s. I would rather have an Elijah Badger who has a future than try to sign Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, those guys. But that's just me. And
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I also been watching Kyle Shanahan, and I think I know what his tendencies are. And his tendencies to not trust, not play young wide receivers is epic. So I would rather have a player that he trusts than a player with upside who he's not even playing because he doesn't trust that player yet.
Well, he would have played Pearsall last year. He played Aiyuk when Aiyuk was a young player. He played Debo when Debo was a young player. I don't know that I would go with that. I personally just think that it's more circumstantial. But also, let's be honest about it, too. Wide receiver in college and wide receiver in the pros, that shouldn't even be called the same position. In college, it's like, hey, this is what you're doing. In the pros, it's like, there's like the layers of complexity are endless. Right. So in college, it's like, hey, we held up the phone. That their indicators are so basic in college.
Right.
It's so much more complicated in the pros.
Scissors means slant route. Paper means coverage.
Well, and I asked Shanahan, you can go check my YouTube on this one. I asked Shanahan this question 3 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago. I said, why is it that rookie receivers struggle? And he gave me a great long answer. That's what I love about Shanahan. He'll give me some great long answers. He gave me this answer, and he's like, in college, they're holding up a card that just says what your route you're running. You look to the sideline, and then you look to the sideline and they'll say, "Oh, it's a run away from you." And then guys don't even buckle their chin strap, and they don't even get off the ball, and it's like they don't even play. It's like they're not playing when the ball's opposite them. In the pros, you got to run every route like you're the primary. And it's so much more involved. It's so much more complicated. Fuji Simeon says, geez, I came back, and first thing I hear about elderly folk and nursery school kids. Great to be back.
We're getting ready for the year, baby. Here we go.
Were we talking elderly?
No, it was my NFL crashing planes for profitability point.
Oh, there you go. Fuji Simeon, 4C NFL expansion down the road. If so, where? I hope not. I think the NFL is perfect with 32 teams. I don't see an obvious expansion city. Do you?
I would, just to include more international everything, I would plop one in Canada somewhere and one in Mexico City.
You're joking, right?
No.
Who's going to sign to play there? In a league that has free agency, you're going to say to somebody, hey, guess what? You can sign with the Rams. You can sign with the Niners. You could sign with the Steelers. Or you could sign to play in Mexico City?
How much?
A city that is sinking into the mantle of the earth by like 2 inches every year. Come on, that can't work, Damon. The only way international works is if a different team goes there every week. Don't you think?
I mean that's the way they're doing it, but I would think that Mexico, if you're not crossing an ocean, a flight to Mexico City isn't that much further away than a flight to Miami. So it's not out of the
language.
Travel.
There's a language difference. There's more sewage in Mexico City than in every American city combined.
Well, I don't know about that. I've never been, so I'm not going to tell you what Mexico City is.
It's an unbelievable.
Have you been?
No, but I just watched an entire thing on there. They just built a skyscraper size hole in the wall, kind of the opposite of a skyscraper, but just down into the ground for sewage, for garbage. Believe me, there'll never be a team in Mexico City that's truly like they're there every week, because nobody's ever going to sign to play there. If there wasn't free agency, maybe, but nobody's going to. I do think there'll be a team internationally, but it will be a series we're playing every week in London. We're playing every week in Germany. We're playing every week in Mexico City. But I don't think it'll be one team. Tommy Huxley, 9 times. I don't remember him missing 9 days. What was that from?
I don't know.
I don't know. John Andrew Leon, Larry, you don't know 49er history if you're putting down Stuckey as a pick. Oh,
boy, these are not super. So we're in the super portion of the show, Larry.
I saved that one because I thought it was so ridiculous. First of all, John, I don't know 49er history. I don't know 49er history.
Were you talking about Joe Sparky?
I would put my knowledge of 49er history up against every other person that covers this team. That's how well I know 49er history. And as far as Stuckey, do we have to go back to it? I mean, once again, I know, are you his relative? He was on a Super Bowl team. He caused a fumble in the 81 NFC Championship game. It's not like I'm saying that Jim Stuckey was bad, but Jim Stuckey played a total of 93 NFL games.
More important,
93 NFL games. He had 18 and a half career sacks, which is not terrible. Not terrible. But that's not we're talking about a 0-time Pro Bowl player.
Right.
So come on.
He doesn't need to be in the circle of fame, the Ring of Honor.
Come on. Let's be honest here. You're just being intellectually dishonest. Joe Sullivan, best Bay Area sports show, hands down. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you. James Foster, Oliver and Yadam are better than Jameson. What? They obviously aren't. Oliver is not even in football anymore. Jameson still is. That's crazy, James.
Yadam was not good.
Yadam? I mean, you'd rather have a more expensive, worse player? Go for it. Fuji Simeon. I do a year in prison for a Twix. LOL.
That's, again, you can just go buy one for like $2.
Fuji Simeon. Larry, you going to do rally chugs at the game? Yeah, there'll be no Friday night pint tonight because I'll be at the game with my boys. But
nice.
I might be slamming. Fuji Simeon going solo at bottom of the pint tonight. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. We got this one from MSQ. Thoughts on the Dodgers' 6-game losing streak and Bailey's game winner? Well, I'll say this. The Dodgers' 6-game losing streak makes me nervous, makes me think they're going to come to San Francisco and kick ass and take
Here
names.
comes the pain.
Yeah. I got to be honest. That's what I think about first. But, why not? Kick them when they're down. As far as Bailey's game winner, one of the things that they said about that ballpark when they built it is, this outfield wall has so many different undulations and areas and that there's going to be crazy bounces off this wall. You watch. Well, it took 25 years, but that was the craziest bounce I've ever seen off of a ball, off of a wall in a major league game, and a backup catcher who actually was staring at the ball. It wasn't like he got out of the box.
No.
Bailey hit that and he stared at it. He didn't get out of the box. He's not a backup catcher. He's a starting catcher, but he's a catcher, and he got left in the box staring at his ball, and he got an inside the park home run standing up with no play at the plate. That was one of the most unlikely. You know what it reminded me of? And real Giants fans will remember this. Giants played the Phillies in, I think, 90 maybe. Might have been late 80s. And Bob Dernier was a fast former Cub. You remember him, Bob Dernier.
I remember
he also played with
the
Phillies. He was on the 84. I think he might have been on the 84 Cubs. But Bob Dernier was very, very fast. He hit an inside the park game-winning 3-run home run to beat the Giants at the Vet in Philly. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, that's amazing. And I swear to you, Damon, that was, 30, 40 years ago. This was the first one I've seen since.
Here's what's
inside the park home runs are amazing, but from catchers, it's incredible.
Here's what makes that so special. It's the only moment of this regular season that has happened so far that if you watched it, you'll remember that your entire life. How often do you remember the result of a regular season game? I'm going to say Patrick Bailey inside the park home run to you, and for the rest of your life, you'll remember Castellanos running from the right field, wall to a ball that is now bounced almost to the left field foul pole. I saw some Philadelphia sports talk hosts ripping what's Castellanos doing? That was the craziest bounce ever. You're right. It came from 20 feet up in the air off the top of a wall. By the way, the Bailey inside the park home run would have been an outside the park home run in every other stadium in Major League Baseball, except for 24 Willie Mays Plaza. Jeff Passan said it's the first walk-off inside the park home run by a catcher since 1926. The first for the Giants since Angel Pagan in 2013. It was memorable. It was an awful lot of fun. It was great. It was fantastic. And then they lose the next day 15-0, and Justin Verlander still hasn't found a win. So I still don't know what to make of the Giants. But that was a great game, great ending. And I'll remember.
The only thing that was bad about that Bailey thing was he's wearing purple.
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck are they doing? I mean, who's in charge of the Giants' uniforms? Purple? I mean, what is this? I mean, come on. The Red Sox have yellow because they're copying the Boston Marathon colors. The City Connect is, I'll just say it for everybody because nobody else wants to say it. It's fucking stupid.
It's all so
fucking stupid. It's a money grab and it's fucking stupid. None of those uniforms look good.
The Creamsicle City Connect uniforms from last year, which I didn't like, are masterpieces compared to this year's.
Dude, this year's is so embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
It is.
You're adding purple. At least the Dodgers are classy enough to stay with their colors. the Yankees stay with their colors. Why can't the Giants stay with their colors?
I don't get it.
How hard is it to stay with your colors?
Here's the thing. If you want to have an
you
alternate
introduce
jersey,
purple, what are you doing?
the Giants have a past of alternate jersey options, which are so glorious and spectacular. The fact that they're not mining all of those for profit instead of going to this rainbow bright shit, I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it. If there were ever a year to look less like the Colorado Rockies, this is that year. And this is the year they chose to look more like a team in their division with purple. What are you doing? See, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Do not change your colors, period. Fuji Simeon, goal to win at least one against the Dodgers? No. Go for the 2 out of 3. Goal is to win the series. Goal is to win the division. Stop taking a back seat to the Dodgers. Especially since you're rich. It'd be one thing if the Giants were poor, but there's nobody really likes the rich loser. If you're a poor loser, then you're a poor loser. But if you're a rich loser, that's way worse. The Giants are a rich loser. The only reason the Giants aren't as good as the Dodgers is ineptitude. It's not about it's not about pocketbook. It's not about they've got money that we don't have. They have intelligence that we don't have. Well, they have smarter people running their team than the Giants have. That's why the Dodgers are better.
We need to let's wrap this up, and then we'll get back to why the Dodgers aren't just better right now, but might be set up to be better forever. We'll get to that in a second. Let's get through the rest of these real quick, though, Larry.
Scotty D, thanks for being the podcast that us men. Thanks for being the podcast that us men of a certain age appreciate. Not many places left for us in sports media today.
Yeah, it's not clickbait. It's not goofy shit. It's not trying to be cute at all times. It's I'm proud of the show that Larry and I do together. It is, I think it's fun, but it's for adults all at the same time.
Ernberg in the house. He said, "Shit quarterback to watch a shit stadium at a shit stadium." Right, Damon?
Well, I don't like the stadium. I do like the quarterback.
Do not go get Damon going on the stadium. Fuji Simeon, what is your all-star break grade for the Giants? I got to give them a B. Yeah, because they were going to be horrible, except they've got really good pitching. They were going to be boring as shit, except then they traded for Devers. And then, by the way, I'm going to buy a Devers T-shirt today at the store.
Why?
Because I'm a Devers fan. I like Devers, and it's like, I'll say this too, Murph. I'm filling in. I think for Murph at some point. I did once, but last week. But Murph is giving that trade an F. An F, Murph.
Too late.
You can't,
too early.
First of all, you can't give the trade an F if you wouldn't rescind it. And any trade that you would give an F to means you want to rescind it. So you want to bring back Hicks and Tibbs and Harrison and give Devers back to the Red Sox. Otherwise, if you're saying a trade's an F, you're saying that you would reverse that trade. And he's not willing to reverse the trade. So quit the melodrama. That's melodrama.
Was that the day that Rafael Devers told Will Clark, "I'm not going to go out and work with you," though? Was he upset about all that? Do you see that?
I got no problem with that. I got no problem with that. That was going to be a circus. That was going to be a circus. And did you see Will attack Dave Fleming's brother?
No.
What? You didn't catch that?
No.
Oh, dude, I gotta share that to you. Dude, I gotta show that. Dude, you didn't catch this, Damon? Are you serious? Will Clark, you know how he goes on with Bernsey, right?
Yes. Well, that's where he told his
no filter.
Devers didn't come out to work with me story. That's what I saw.
Right. But on the same platform, after Fleming's brother went back east and told all those guys, well, kind of basically quoted Clark's thing. Then Clark ripped him. Here it is. I'll share it. I'm going to share it. You can hear it.
Okay.
Here it is. Here's Will Clark. Hold on. God dang it. What in the heck has happened on our
I don't know.
What has happened to the bottom of the screen on our StreamYard?
Yeah, there's an update that if you were
How do I
used to
share the
old way.
screen? Wait a second.
Press the screen with the plus in it.
There we go.
There you go.
It couldn't just say, "Hey, share screen." That was
you can
too
do
easy. Okay, here we go. Will Clark.
Letterboxed.
Off, motherfucker. And Will Fleming,
wait.
fuck off.
Start it over. Okay, here we go.
Listen.
And Will Fleming, you can go fuck off, motherfucker. All right? You want to fucking take a conversation that we're having and then blow it out of proportion because you're a fucking East Coast piece of shit reporter? Fuck off. All right? And
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, personally, I love Will Clark, and I love guys.
My wife will tell you that that's what basically Will Clark said to her and her entire 7th grade class one day when they were looking for autographs. Fuck off. I'm going to the cage.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's cool, but
But no, look, I love Will Clark too. And for him to come out against Dave Fleming's, I don't hear what Dave Fleming's brothers said, but I guess he tried to take the Rafael Devers didn't join Will Clark to play first. But look, in Boston, they're going to hate Rafael Devers forever. That's just the way it goes back there. You're disloyal to the team. You say no to the team.
Take some accountability, though. Take some accountability, that for whatever. I mean, it's like this was your guy like 45 minutes ago.
Here's the thing, though. Rafael Devers, even though he's hitting like 80 points less than his Red Sox average right now or whatever it is, he's still one of the best hitters on the Giants. And he is a quality major league hitter over a large sample size of a significant enough career to where any slow start shouldn't be giving an F grade to Rafael Devers. I bet you he ends up as one of the best players and hitters the Giants have in the second half. Let him get his equilibrium. Let him adjust to the National League.
Terrific. Here's Will Fleming. Here's what he said.
Long term, but he has been a little disappointing to the start of his career in a Giants uniform. A bit,
but nobody would reverse that trade. Hicks stinks. No. Harrison's a reliever. Tibbs is a 15-homer corner outfielder, and you got 28-year-old Devers. Come on. Here's what Flem's brother said on EEI.
Think about the courage, the chutzpah that it took for Craig Breslow to do what he did, right? I mean, that is a full-on balls-on-the-table move.
Yep.
To trade that guy, it is, I mean, and he knew this in the moment. You're putting your job on the line, 100%. When you take it to ownership, you say, this is what I believe. This guy does not subscribe to the vision of this team. And what's crazy is, we were in San Francisco right after that trade happened, and everyone out there, of course, because they've been dying to get big hitters, and they think he's going to win them divisions and hit he's going to hit home runs. Of course he is. They don't yet know what is going to happen with the player. I was there the second day. Will Clark was there to work on ground balls with him at first base, and Rafi didn't show up. So that's the person that these guys have been dealing with for a long time. And again, like, baseball clubhouses are different. His teammates did not mind him. A lot of them really liked him, right? I mean,
So that's basically the long and the short of it.
The overreaction of Will Clark, that is hardly inflammatory East Coast asshole. First of all, you want to know the difference?
No, but he just didn't like. I mean, Will just didn't like the fact that the guy blew it out.
Dave Fleming. Well, look at it this way. Then don't put your show on fucking YouTube, Will. People are going to watch it and react to it. Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, Will's entitled to his opinion. He's and Fleming's like, I think that's hilarious too. He's like, they don't realize what they got in Devers. Well, hey, dude, you don't realize what you didn't get coming back for Devers.
You didn't get much in what you got coming back. Let me say this about Rafael Devers real quick. Or first of all, there's no way Dave Fleming would ever say the phrase, put balls on the table. So the other Fleming works bluer than our Fleming works. I kind of like that. Let me just say this, though, about Rafael Devers. If he does not have this big second half, if his career in a Giants uniform is offensively much less than what it was in Boston, it is going to be the canary in the coal mine for all future free agents. If that ballpark gobbles up Rafael Devers, who will ever come and sign with the San Francisco Giants as a free agent if he is half the player he used to be since showing up here? That's just my cautionary tale on Rafael Devers.
Not concerned. He's already hit balls halfway up the bleachers. I got to go because I got to do another stream here. Fuji Siemens says, Larry, purple is awesome. This from a Reardon alum. Fuji says, Larry, get an SF Devers jersey for your nephew. LOL. There we go. Okay. So,
have a great time at the ballpark tonight, Larry. Have a great time with there's nothing better than bringing your kids, your boys to the ballpark. Have a wonderful time. Tell everyone, tell Kevin I said hello, and we'll be back at it on Monday. And next week, we got teams on the field. You got to like that if you're a football guy.
Camp just around the corner. We'll be there. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.